There was a golden time when Nickelodeon ruled the world. I'm talking about the era when your biggest decision was whether to watch Spongebob Jellyfish and Adventures or see what chaos Cosmo was cooking up with his magic wand, or if you were lucky, you got to see the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. It was the 2000s, capri pants were in, flip phones were the norm, and every single kid had one goal in life: to get slimed at the Kids' Choice Awards. Well, some kids' goals, not mine. We weren't just watching cartoons, we were living them. We knew the names of every fairy, every ghost villain, every trick in Rocket Power. We had those theme songs stuck in our heads before Spotify was even a thing. This was the era of brainy boys with robotic dogs, ghost hunting teens that could walk through walls, disappear and fly, and a sponge named Bob who was the greatest fry cook in the sea. So grab your Danimals Crush cup, park yourself on a beanbag chair with a little hole in it, and get ready to dive into a time when cartoons weren't just shows, they were events. This is the golden age of Nickelodeon cartoons, the 2000s edition.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh!
Alright, so let's start with the legend SpongeBob SquarePants. The little sponge who lives in a pineapple under the sea premiered in 1999, but let's be real, he owned the 2000s. This show was everywhere. If you didn't know how to jellyfish, blow a bubble in the shape of an elephant, or sing the entire fun song word for word, I have to revoke your childhood membership. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm so sorry. SpongeBob wasn't just a cartoon, he was a cultural reset. Something very different at the time. This sponge had range. One episode he's grilling Krabby Patties like a 5-star chef. Next he's fighting off a horde of anchovies with Squidward like it's the Avengers. And don't get me started on the memes. This show accounts for probably 10% of all memes currently in circulation on the internet. I don't even have to name a specific meme. We all know that. Every character on this show deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for cartoons. Patrick was the lovable idiot, but a loyal friend.
Wallet.
Doesn't look familiar to me.
What? I just saw you drop it. Here.
Nope, it's not mine.
Squidward was every burnt out millennial who, as I've gotten older, kind of have started to relate to more and more. It's weird. He thinks he's fancy and classy, but we all know he's just not at that level yet. Mr. Krabs, the owner of the very successful restaurant, probably one of 2 restaurants in Bikini Bottom, and the cheapest person we know. It's said many times that SpongeBob has to pay him to work there.
If you had to choose between SpongeBob and all the money I have in my pocket, which would you take?
That depends. How much money are we talking about?
Mr. Krabs!
62 cents.
I'll take the money.
And Plankton, well, Plankton was basically every struggling entrepreneur with one goal: steal the secret formula. I never understood that. He was just gonna steal the Krabby Patty formula and just start making the same thing, but across the street. Also, why was there a whole episode about these guys selling what looks to be like pies, but they're actually bombs?
Those homemade pies sure look good.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
Sorry if anyone is watching this video like on loudspeaker at the airport because I just said the word bomb. I'm sorry, I just said it again. I'm done saying the word. But let's be clear, season 1 through 3 are peak SpongeBob. These episodes are still quoted 25 years later like they dropped yesterday. That stretch of episodes are untouchable. Everything else after, I can't vouch for. But the original SpongeBob SquarePants movie in 2004, that was supposed to be the big finale, but nah, they just kept it going. And since the original creator passed some time ago, we have these spin-off shows like other SpongeBob movies that I'm not sure how successful they are. I think they just announced a new SpongeBob movie like the day I'm recording this. There's the Patrick Star Show, Camp Coral, I don't know. And now we're here with season 16 premiering in July of this year, which is wild. I don't even recognize the show much today, but the old SpongeBob, that dude was wild. Seasons 1 through 3, maybe a little bit of 4, that's like perfect prime SpongeBob. He didn't just define a decade, he became the face of Nickelodeon, like Ridiculousness did for MTV. And honestly, SpongeBob is probably still their golden goose. Let's move on to a show that's a little bit more action-packed, so pull your knee pads and skateboards out. We're talking about Rocket Power. This show rolled in like a tidal wave of kickflips and scooter tricks. It was basically every 2000s kid's fantasy, living at the beach, pulling off sick stunts and saying, with without getting side-eye. Otto, Reggie, Twister, and Sam weren't just cartoon characters, they were our role models, for better or for worse. They made street hockey feel like an Olympic event and made us think that we could surf, skate, snowboard on the same day, all at once, especially if you watch this show during the summer. I remember watching the show and be like, all right, let's go outside and do some cool sports stuff. I had a whole skateboarding phase. I had rollerblades at one point. I could have been part of the game. You don't know. I had the Rocket Power video game on Game Boy SP and PlayStation 2. Yeah, I was pretty deep in the fandom. And don't get me started on the Nicktoons Christmas special DVD. That thing was something I pop into my portable DVD player almost every day. This DVD had all the Christmas specials, so SpongeBob, Rocket Power, Fairly Odd Parents, and Rugrats all on one disc. This was peak holiday vibes.
Christmas feels like the very first Christmas too.
Someone go find that DVD out there. It is great. It is nostalgic and I love it. Rocket Power's theme song was probably the coolest thing I ever heard as a boy. It had no business going that hard. Just hearing it got me hyped. Like run outside and try to ollie hype. And remember Raymundo? Gotta mention him. Probably the chillest cartoon dad of all time. Dude ran a shore shack and somehow managed to give life advice that actually made sense to kids. Art style was pure 90s 2000s energy. It was produced by the same people who made Rugrats, and Rocket Power didn't just entertain, it convinced an entire generation that we're this close to becoming extreme sports legends. Even if the most extreme thing we did was try to ollie off a curb and sprain our ankles in the process, Rocket Power I feel like is a forgotten gem of its time. Not by me. It had a cool vibe, it showcased a bunch of different sports and just gave us kids being outside and having fun. I mean, it totally earned its place in Nick's golden lineup. Okay, so now let's talk about Fairly Odd Parents.
Timmy is an average kid that no one understands.
The show that was great until it got milked beyond repair. The show was chaos, magical chaos. I mean, it premiered in 2001 and instantly had every kid wishing that he had godparents who could poof them out of doing homework or into some ridiculous candy-themed universe or to get your crush to like you. I don't know. But Timmy Turner had it all. He had a pink hat, buck teeth, and the power to reshape reality. He was Thanos before Thanos existed, and somehow he still flunked math. Cosmo and Wanda were the real stars though. Cosmo had the IQ of a spoon, and Wanda was the only adult in the room ever, but together they made comedy gold. This show was so fast-paced and full of jokes that half the time you were still laughing from one gag when the next one already hit. Then there was Vicky. She pissed me off. I'ma be real. She was the blueprint for every villainous babysitter ever. I swear she gave us kids in real life actual trust issues. She reminds me of Angelica, but like worse. Is Angelica worse? I don't know. I really didn't like Angelica from Rugrats, but let's not forget the theme song is definitely in the Hall of Fame for theme songs. You know, you still remember every word. Well, you remember most of the words until it gets to the end when they start going fast and naming all the things. At one point, the show even managed to outrate SpongeBob for a while. And once again, SpongeBob was huge. That's how big Fairly Odd Parents got. And yeah, it went on for a while. Some would say a bit too long, but those early seasons were hilarious, sharp, and non-stop magic-filled madness. Always involved Timmy making some selfish wish, then Jorgen Von Strangle, the toughest fatty in the universe, will have to show up and re-emphasize the rules once again, and was all great during its prime. This is an easy 10 out of 10 show. Also random as hell, but there was a recurring character called Mark Chang who was an alien. Very random.
Okay, wisdom of a smart animal boy, what do we do now?
There were a few live action versions of Fairly Odd Parents with Timmy Turner, who basically had, I guess, Arrested Development. And we should have wrapped up the show there, but it started going past its prime when Poof was born. Fairies had a baby to basically spice things up, and at first, this was a huge event. Like, it worked. It re-sparked Fairly Odd Parents, but then it got weird. Like, Timmy had to share his fairies with some random new character we never met before. That's when the spark all faded. We could tell they were trying to milk this thing. It was over. Honestly, the spark probably already died a little bit before that, but they were just trying to revive it. I feel like doing things like this just slowly diminishes the show's great legacy. Now when I'm thinking of Fairly Odd Parents, I think of what did they do to the show? They kept trying to make spin-offs and new versions of the show in these movies instead of remembering like all the great episodes that the show really had. And maybe that's an issue, but the show in its original form is still great. It is a 10 out of 10 show. Even with all that, it's still a classic. It gave us gems like Channel Chasers, which honestly might be one of the best specials in cartoon history. And of course, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, that crossover, that was like the Super Bowl of cartoon events. 3 summers, 3 legendary specials, peak hype. Fairly Odd Parents gave us wish fulfillment with a very heavy dose of absurdity. And for a kid growing up in the 2000s, it was everything. But now let's talk about the other half of the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Yeah, I know I keep bringing up the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. It was that good, okay? But if you don't know already, this show is actually based on the Nickelodeon movie of the same name. I'm not sure if it was like a backdoor pilot or was so good that they decided to make a show out of it. That's a classic, and go watch it if you haven't already. This show felt like science class if science class involved space travel, brain blasting, and a robotic dog that could cook breakfast, provide you with any tools you needed at any time, and basically do anything you wanted. Jimmy was the kid with the huge chair and thought he knew it all. As the name says, he was a boy genius, making crazy inventions in his lab that would rival any tech company. Like he casually turned a kid's ride into a working rocket that didn't require a spacesuit when in space. He had the lab, the underground lab, by the way, the tech, the absurd IQ, and a crew that made it all even better. We have Sheen, the obsessively unhinged loud character who's obsessed with Ultralord and had the energy of 5 kids after a full pixie stick binge. Then there was Carl, the human embodiment of a wheeze. His last name is Weezer, so that makes total sense. Then we have Cindy, a high achieving individual who swears she hates Jimmy, thinks she's just as smart as him, but at the same time she had a huge crush on him. And Libby, who was Cindy's best friend, the style of the group, and also Sheen's girlfriend at some point, kinda. The animation was very different from most shows at the time. It was actually a 3D rendered show, and looking back now, I'm not sure how I didn't notice at the time how slightly odd and waxy smooth that they all looked. It was like one of the first Nicktoons to ever be fully computer animated, and it somehow worked perfectly with the wild inventions and sci-fi storyline. A great theme song.
3, 2, 1.
Got a blast!
To the stars, you'll buy candy bars. Rides a kid with a knack for invention.
I think Nickelodeon had a method with these theme songs. They were all perfect for every single show. That intro was a straight up hype machine. What really made Jimmy Neutron stand out were the inventions. Every episode had some wacky contraption that went completely off the rails. Jetpacks, cloning machines, time travel. If it could be imagined, Jimmy probably built it and almost destroyed the town with it. It made science cool. It made being a nerd cool, kinda. Between the laughs, the tech, and the crossover specials with Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron totally earns his spot in a Nick Hall of Fame. But now let's shift our gears to something a bit more epic: Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Water, earth, fire, air.
This wasn't just a cartoon, it was a saga, and I also consider it a franchise with as many spin-offs, books, and movie adaptations. A 3-season masterpiece that delivered storytelling amazingly. They had character arcs, serialized animation, and world building like nothing else on TV at the time. The show didn't play around. It had jokes, sure, but it also had political drama, spiritual growth, and literal bending of elements. It was a journey, a story, learning about yourself and your potential. Aang is our lovable monk turned hero who at a young age is told that he is the next Avatar and is trying to master all 4 elements and bring balance to the world. He gets frozen, and about 100 years later he meets who will become his new best friends, sibling Katara and Sokka from the Water Tribe, who join Aang on his journey, and they end up developing themselves.
Remember how the Unagi almost got me yesterday?
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna go ride it now. It's gonna be real dangerous.
good for you.
You're not gonna stop me?
Nope. Have fun.
I will.
Great.
I know it's great.
Oh, I'm glad you know.
I'm glad you're glad.
Good.
Meanwhile, Zuko was on his own redemption arc that hit harder than most adult dramas. He wanted to capture the Avatar to regain honor and prove to his father that he was worthy. And Uncle Iroh, man, that guy had a lot of wisdom to offer Zuko and really everyone. He's probably many people's honorary grandpa. Every element, air, water, earth, fire, felt distinct. Each tribe's culture was beautifully inspired by real traditions. The fights were choreographed like martial arts films. Each element's tribe follows a different style of martial arts. The world building and the depth of the serialized show is what makes it great, and honestly, we need more shows like this. And let's be real, this show had no business being as deep as it was, tackling real subjects like war, imperialism, loss, identity, and still managed to sneak in jokes, a about a man's cabbage cart being destroyed. It was so good. People are still mad about that one live action movie, but we do not have to talk about it. Whether you were watching it for the epic battles or just to see Toph roast everyone with blind sass, Avatar delivered every single time. It wasn't just one of Nickelodeon's best shows, it was one of the best animated series ever. But let's get into another Nick classic show, and this one had the cleanest intro of cartoon history. I know I keep talking about all these theme songs. All the theme songs are good. I don't know how I can re-emphasize that. They're all good.
He's a phantom.
I try to play as much of these theme songs as I can without getting a copyright strike. Danny Fenton was your regular teen until he stepped into a ghost portal. Yes, a ghost portal. His parents are ghost hunters. That's why they have it. Very ironic show. And after he did that, he got hit with the best superpower origin in Nick history. Suddenly he can go invisible, fly, phase through walls, and shoot ecto beams because why not? Those are things ghosts can do. He wasn't just fighting random ghosts either. Like, it wasn't just normal people who happened to die. These were villains like Skulker, Ember, Freak Show, and don't get me started on Vlad Plasmas. Petty billionaire ghost vampire with serious extra drama, but I gotta admit it, he was iconic. What made Danny Phantom stand out was his darker tone. It had real stakes, ongoing plot, emotional arc, basically everything we weren't used to seeing in a show aimed for kids, except for, of course, Avatar. The animation was so slick, the glowing green eyes, the transformation scenes, the vibe shift when Danny goes full Phantom, the show still hits, or his ghost sense going off when something just wasn't right, basically his version of Spidey sense. Plus, the squad was solid. Sam was the goth, sarcastic girl, one of Danny's closest friends, and eventually girlfriend in the season finale. Tucker was the techie and hilarious other best friend to Danny. He always carried around a PDA with him and helped figure out ways to battle ghosts and get them sent back to the ghost zone. This show didn't run forever, but it did leave a huge impact. It was a cult favorite, and till this day, fans still want a reboot, and honestly, they deserve it. You know they like to revive franchises 20 plus years later to squeeze a little bit of money out of them. But Danny Phantom was cool without trying too hard, and in a world of 2000s cartoons, that's definitely saying something. He was created by the same guy who made Fairly Odd Parents, and he got his basically second chance at making a new show, and this show hits. If I had to choose between Danny Phantom and Fairly Odd Parents, I would choose Fairly Odd Parents for its storylines, Danny Phantom for its cool factor. They're just so different types of shows. But now let's talk about what is probably Nickelodeon's most creative show they ever gave us, Chalk Zone.
Rudys got the chalk.
This show took the imagination of every doodle-filled notebook and turned it into a fully animated world. Rudy Tabooty, yes, that is his real name, finds a piece of magic chalk that opens a portal into the Chalk Zone, a universe where everything you draw comes to life. Sounds chaotic? It absolutely was. Chalk Zone was pure kid wish fulfillment. You could create anything, monsters, villains, entire cities, just draw it and boom, it's real. Now, does this sound like the book Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson? Yes, it does, but as a kid, who cares about books? Ew, nasty book. Ew, nasty books. That's hilarious to say after I just made a video about educational shows. Rudy's sidekicks were Penny, the brains, and Snap, the blue energetic cartoon doodle with the fastest quips on TV.
I, for one, am fortunate in that I have no hair. Hey, thanks for drawing me bald, Rudy. Don't mention it.
Snap was cool. The art style switched it up too, which makes sense. The real world looked normal, but the Chalk Zone was full of scribbles, neon outlines, and wild imagination. It felt like living inside an actual sketchbook that exploded with creativity. The show also had the music, like original songs that kind of went hard. I mean, first of all, the theme song is great, like all of these shows. Even if the only thing they're saying on the theme song is Rudy's Got the Chalk and Chalk Zone. There was a whole band episode, a jam about multiplication. Chalk Zone was kind of low-key educational, but made it fun. Unfortunately, the show didn't last long at all, but for the kids who watched it like me, Chalk Zone unlocked something. It made you want to draw on your walls, your sneakers, anything. And if you ever tried using real chalk thinking it might open a portal to Chalk Zone, you weren't alone. We all drew a little circle trying to see, like, maybe, you never know. Chalk Zone was weird in the best way. It was Nickelodeon saying, hey, let's just make a weird and creative show. And honestly, I'm glad they did. And last but not least, we've got All Grown Up, aka the moment our favorite babies from Rugrats hit puberty and things got way more relatable.
3, 2, 1.
This show was like flipping through a time capsule, or better yet, it felt like being that one aunt or uncle you haven't seen in years saying, look at you, you've gotten so big. I remember when you was just knee-high to a grasshopper. I remember you was just this big. We had Tommy, who was suddenly an aspiring filmmaker, Chucky, who had full-blown middle school anxiety, and Angelica, who was, well, still Angelica, just with more sass and lip gloss. Seeing these characters grow up alongside us was low-key emotional, and it may be time for the Rugrats to be fully grown and have their own kids. I don't know, could be a thing. Don't listen to me. Wait, hold on. Why you turn TV off for real? Chill out, chill. Keep watching the video. All Grown Up was less about wacky baby adventures and more about lockers, crushes, and awkward school dances. General middle school stuff. I mean, they outgrew the diapers, but not Nickelodeon. And there were plenty of things for them to still learn. I mean, they're in middle school. The vibes were different, sure, but in a good way. The show actually gave these characters some more depth because they weren't just babies. They were fully formed humans. Well, not fully formed, but you saw friendships evolve, sibling dynamics shift, and yes, plenty of middle school drama. It wasn't always wild or zany, but it was comforting in that I'm growing up too kind of way. It might not get the same height as the other shows on this list, but it absolutely deserves a shout out. All Grown Up reminded us that growing up doesn't mean letting go of the stuff you love. It just means that you see it from a new angle. So there you have it, Nickelodeon's golden age, one cartoon at a time, from jellyfishing in Bikini Bottom to ghost hunting in Amity Park and surfing the chalk zone to surviving middle school with Tommy and the gang. These shows didn't just fill time slots, they filled our childhood. Whether you were Team Spongebob, a Rocket Power wannabe, or just still mad about Zuko's scar backstory, these shows shaped us. They made us laugh, they made us think, and maybe even cry a little. I didn't cry, not me. Maybe it made you cry. They were bold, they were weird, and they were unforgettable. This wasn't just TV for us, it was Nickelodeon in its prime, and honestly, I miss it every day. Times were so simpler back then. I didn't have bills. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Make sure you give a like, make sure you subscribe. Tell me what other topics you want me to comment. I read the comments all the time. Liking comments down there. And catch you guys later.